All right. Hey, Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ. Bless. Scoot over. Officer. Glad to be here. Glad to be here. We're going to get started. Today's class is called New Year, Same Oppression. New Year, Same Oppression. Last night, a lot of brothers and sisters throughout the world, they partook in what they thought was the New Year. You know, they watched the ball drop. They passed syphilis around. They made their New Year's resolutions. A lot of different things went down last night in honor of the god Janus. And we're going to hit on that first, and then we're going to do a recap of some major events that happened throughout the world and go through them scripturally as we have already done throughout the year. So we're going to recap the year, but before we do that, we're going to go through the scriptures and make sure our people understand that it isn't the new year just yet. All right, so let's start at Romans 15 and 4. Let's start there.
The book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
So the things that were written aforetime were written for our learning. All right, the title of the class is New Year, Same Oppression. So we must go through the scriptures to understand who we are as a people, the state that we're supposed to be in, and understanding our value in the world, understanding who we are and where we're supposed to be in relationship to where we are as a people. If you don't go and look at the things that were written aforetime, the promises that were given to us, the things that we were supposed to have, you wouldn't know. You would be complacent to where we are right now. Matter of fact, give me that in Baruch where it says, "How thou in a strange land, waxing
3 and
old."
10.
Yep, give me that. Because when you look at our people today, we content. We content with Christmas. We content with Thanksgiving. We content with all of these things. But we don't understand it, and we're going to hit on during the class. We don't understand there's actually things that God gave us to do. It's crazy. Read that.
The book of Baruch, chapter 3 and verse 10. How happeneth it, Israel?
How happened it, Israel? He's asking a question to us. All of you listening, watching, how has it happened? Read.
That thou art in thine enemy's land.
That what?
That thou art in thine enemy's land.
Let's just start there. Most of our people don't even understand that America is not our land. This is not our place of rest. That's why the title of the class is New Year, Same Oppression. A lot of people set up resolutions last night to bless the land, to bring peace to the land, for America to get over its racial divide and all these different things, not understanding. Read that again.
That thou art in thine enemy's land.
That what?
That thou art in thine enemy's land.
That we are in our enemy's land. Read.
That thou art waxen old in a strange country.
Read.
That thou art defiled with the dead.
And we find ourselves defiled with the dead. Go ahead.
Hey, Cap. So when it says that we in our enemy's land, we don't even consider that the people that have oppressed us are our enemies.
That's a heavy point. And it's funny you say that because yesterday, that was the topic.
Right.
That was the topic of the class, the 25-hour class that we had on Clubhouse. If you don't know you're in a foreign land, you don't know you have enemies. So that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. So it says, how happened it, Israel, that thou art in thine enemy's land, and thou art waxen old in a strange country, and that thou art defiled with the dead. Let's get Proverbs 21 and 16 real quick, and then we're going to get back on topic. All right.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 21 and verse 16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding.
The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding. That's us. That is us as a nation. We are defiled here in America. We think the new year is on January 1st. We think we're supposed to make a New Year's resolution. They had watchtower classes, watch classes last night. People were in church, praise dancing to bring in the new year. It's crazy when you really look at it. We're going to show it throughout the scriptures. Read.
The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead.
Shall what?
Shall remain in the congregation of the dead.
So we're not physically dead. we are a spiritually dead nation. Why? Because we follow the customs of our oppressors in this strange land. In America, we're going to show you exactly what we learned a lot of these customs and traditions that we keep. So, let's play that first video. We're going to go to, I think it was 40 seconds. The first video until 40 seconds. Let's start there. All praises. IT on point today.
For many people around the world, January 1st offers an opportunity to make a fresh start with a new year. But we bet you didn't know that over the last 4,000 years, New Year's wasn't always celebrated on the 1st of January. The original New Year's celebration, the massive Babylonian religious festival of Akitu, was held every year around the spring equinox.
Go back.
In 46 BC.
I think it was frozen. All right, go back to the beginning. I was hasty to credit. It's all right. It's all right, IT. It's freezing again. What's going on?
For many people around the world, January 1st offers an opportunity to make a fresh start with a new year. But we bet you didn't know that over the last 4,000 years, New Year's wasn't always celebrated on the 1st of January. The original New Year's celebration, the massive Babylonian religious festival of Akitu, was held every year around the spring equinox. In 46 BC, Julius Caesar introduced a new calendar that was synced to the sun instead of the moon, officially moving New Year's celebrations from March 1st to January 1st. In the Middle Ages, the Christian church did away with many of the ancient...
So we saw they changed it. They changed everything onto the sun instead of the moon. All right, let's see what our God set us up to follow, to get our seasons, to get our dates, to get our feast days. Go to Sirach 43. Sirach chapter 43 and verse 6. And like we always say to people all the time, this is common knowledge. I literally went on YouTube and typed in New Year's, and this is what you see. But this is showing you that our people are defiled in the land of our enemies. That's what's going on. It's the information age, and our people are still at a low level of understanding. Read that.
The book of Sirach, chapter 43 and verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season.
He what?
He made the moon also to serve in her season.
He made the moon to serve in her season. Read.
For a declaration of times.
Read.
And a sign of the world.
And a sign of the world. When have you ever seen anybody in the Christian church ever point you to the moon to figure out feast and seasons or days? You would never seen it. You would never. I mean, when I came into the church, I was like, new moon. I was like, damn, is this pagan worship? what the hell is a new moon? Not knowing the Bible tells you to keep these feast days.
Right.
The Bible tells you to keep the new moon. But in Christianity, you so doped up on Christmas, Thanksgiving, all these other days that you don't even realize God set these things up for us to find our days, not to worship, but to find our days. Go ahead.
Right. Just like, at least when I was in the Christian church, I never knew what a Passover was.
Yep.
You know,
no idea.
Tabernacles.
No idea.
Never heard of these things.
Never heard of it. I know I've never heard of it. Keep reading.
From the moon is the sign of feast.
For what?
From the moon is the sign of feast.
So Esau changed that thing. They said no longer are we going to go off that moon. Read.
A light that decreaseth in her perfection. The month is called after her name.
What?
The month is called after her name. Increasing wonderfully in her changing.
Read.
Being an instrument of the armies above. Shining in the firmament of heaven.
So, when did this happen? It said it happened during 45 BC, I think it was what it said, when the Romans were ruling. So I'm going to show you something that is no surprise that it happened during that time period. Why? The Israelites were asleep. We were what? In captivity. Just like today. I'm going to show you something. Now, this precedes what we're about to read, but it's going to show you that during this time period, it was prophesied that these things were going to come. Go to 1 Maccabees 1 and read verse, what I want. I want much evils. Yep, 9.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 9.
All right, hold on. It says we can barely hear them. The reader's mic is perfect. All right, so make sure me and Kimuel mic is up. All right, read that.
Check.
And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
So after Alexander the Greek died, he had 4 generals. The 4 generals ruled in their 4 lands. Read.
So did their sons after them many years.
Uh-huh.
And evils were multiplied in the earth.
And what happened?
And evils were multiplied in the earth.
And evils were multiplied upon the earth. What were some of the evils they did? They changed times and laws and dates. That's what we just read. They changed the whole calendar. So now you can't even worship your God, because with a God comes days of worship. So when you change the days, now you change our whole worship cycle.
So it's not I worship him every day.
No. That's of people's own mind and their own thoughts. That has never been what God set up. But that's a good point you bring up. Because what do you read that in the Bible? You don't read it. He said you do everything unto him, but he also set aside days. We're going to get to that too. Go to, so the many evils multiply. Go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 in verse 3. Because the new year is in the spring. Mm-hmm. During this time, the Greco-Roman period, they changed it to the winter, the dead of the winter. Let's see why they do that. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. And by them doing that, guess what they do? They expose themselves and show who they really are. Because everything God says to do, they do the exact opposite. Every time. Never fails. Read that.
The book of 2 Thessalonians, chapter 2 and verse 3.
Uh-huh.
Let no man deceive you by let no man deceive you.
Let no man deceive you. Let no man deceive you. Christ said the same thing. Mm-hmm. Why is that? And you know what's crazy about that? They write it all throughout the scriptures. Right. Meanwhile, all these Christian churches who all do the same thing, they continue to say, we the people that's trying to deceive. It's like, hold on. You realize you're doing what everybody else do, right? You don't got to believe in Santa Claus to celebrate Christmas, but you do it. You don't got to believe in Easter to do an Easter egg, but you do it. Meanwhile, we trying to deceive you by making you do what the Bible say do.
And they know that they wrong. That's the whole thing. They'll tell you all the time, I know I'm not supposed to be doing this.
Right.
And then use an example of, well, but my family's in town. So
there you go. And that's Christians. Pastors will say that. Yeah, we know that the New Year's ain't, but and then they give you theology.
Right.
They give you exegesis and eisegesis. Read that.
Let no man deceive you by any means.
Read.
For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away.
So Christ ain't going to come except there be a falling away. We got to forget who we are. Read.
First, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
Esau, the so-called white man, Esau must be revealed. This is the key part. Read.
Who opposes.
Who what?
Who opposes.
So this is how you know who the man of sin is. What does he do?
Who opposes.
Who opposes. Read.
And exalteth himself above all that is called God.
So you got to ask yourself, we just watched the video. Who changed the new year from the spring to the winter? And whoever that is, he's opposing God. He's doing the opposite of God. Therefore, that will make him what? The man of sin, the man of perdition. Which is who? The devil. That's what we're seeing right here. That is what we are seeing. And guess what? During this time, we just read in 1 Maccabees that evils would be multiplied upon the earth. Why? Because everything God set up, they would change. What happened? They took away the sacrifice from us. They changed our days. They burnt the books of the law. All this happened during the Greco-Roman time period. So who are they? It's plain to see. Plain to see. From there, turn back on the video, and we're going to go to 1 minute and 4 seconds. Start at 40 seconds. We're going to go from a minute. We're going to go to 1 minute 4.
Roman festivals because of their pagan roots.
Hold on.
As a result,
go
New
back
Year
about 2-3 seconds. And then we're going to pause it. Should have started at 40 seconds.
January 1st. In the Middle Ages, the Christian church did away with many of the ancient Roman festivals because of their pagan roots.
Pause.
As a result,
said during the Middle Ages, the church did away with many of these festivals because of their pagan roots. That's what happened. Now you got to ask yourself, how did they get back in? How did these things creep back into the church? Go to Sirach real quick. Sirach chapter 34 and verse 4. Sirach chapter 34 and verse 4.
The book of Sirach, chapter 34 and verse 4. Of an unclean thing.
Of what?
Of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed?
Read.
And from that thing which is false, what truth can come?
Right. What truth can come out of an unclean thing or an unclean tradition? Nothing, brothers and sisters. That's the answer to your question. You can keep trying to say you redefine it and I do it this way and we do. It's not scriptural. God never gave you the authority to do that. Never, not once. And when you go into the origins in the 1500s with no internet, they were able to say, hey, man, this ain't lining up with the scriptures. This stuff is pagan at root. Meanwhile, today we got all this different technology, all these videos, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and we still say, nah, I'm going to do it my way. Go back to the video.
Hey, that's part of the problem, though. We have too much difference of opinion with all the. It's like information overload.
Right.
You know that you don't have the right men to lead you or guide you, and so you just soaking in all this information, and you all over the place.
That's a good point. So what you're saying is, it's so much information now that people ain't even stable. They ain't stable.
They're unstable.
They're
very much.
unstable.
We see it every night. They're very unstable.
Read that. I mean, press play.
New Year's was celebrated on various dates throughout medieval Europe. Finally, in 1582, Pope Gregory XIII overhauled the calendar system again. The Gregorian calendar, which we still use today, restored January 1st as New Year's Day. Even today, some countries and cultures follow a lunar, not solar calendar, and hold their New Year's celebration.
All right. So we see in 1582 it came back under Pope Gregory. The Pope, remember, we all know everybody comes from the Catholic Church. All these different denominations and religions, they all stem from the Catholic Church. That's why they all do the same things. That's why when the Pope instituted, everybody does it. Everybody says, okay, that's what it is. That's what we'll roll with. Well, let's see what God says about that. Go to Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
And what?
And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
He shall speak great words against the Most High. Who is this? This is the so-called white man. This is Esau. This is what he has done. What? He says God loves everybody. He's plastered, what? John 3:16 all over the world. John 3:16 is the first scripture you'll ever read. Spoke great words. He's done what? He's painted images of God as himself, as a naked white man touching other naked white man. What is the name of that? What's the name of that picture? You know the name of that picture? I know they make y'all learn that. I forgot the name, but you know when they touching fingertips, all that stuff.
The hand of God, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what he's done. He's spoken great words against the Most High. Read.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High. When did he wear out the saints? Slavery. Hundreds of years. Bishop been going over it week after week on the new history that we didn't even know about during the Spanish Inquisition time period. We all know what happened during the transatlantic slave trade. But before that, now we're learning even more about the Hellenization period. This man has been wearing us out for centuries at a time. Read.
And think to change times.
And in the process of him wearing us out, because we at a low level, we can't read, we can't write, you can't stand up for yourself. What happened?
And think to change times.
And he would think to change times. Read.
And laws.
And laws. Read.
And they shall be given into his hand.
Pause. And they shall be given into his hand. This is what a lot of y'all don't understand. A lot of people ask, well, why are we in this situation? Why God put them over us as a punishment.
Right.
And only those that are sincere are going to see. He's gonna unveil your eyes, and you're gonna be able to see everything for what it is. But you're still gonna be in captivity for the sins of your forefathers. So read that part again, and he'll think to change what?
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws.
And think to change times and laws. Think to change times and laws. We just showed y'all history that ain't hidden. You ain't got to buy a $1,000 book. You ain't got to go to the library. Who changed it? We just read it. Pope and Romulus in 45, I think it was 46 BC. That's who changed it. So who are the saints? Who are the people that had to live underneath these changes that didn't have any say so? You got scripture?
Bring it up.
Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead. You good. We got time.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Cap.
You sure?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
You gonna
right
bring it
now.
out later?
Yeah.
All right. So who are the saints that were wore out? That's what we got to who are the saints? Give me that Psalms 148 and verse 14 real quick.
The book of Psalms, chapter 148 and verse 14. He also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints.
The what?
The praise of all his saints.
The praise of all his saints. Read.
Even of the children of Israel.
Even what?
Even of the children of Israel.
Even of the children of Israel. So these are the people that are going to be subject to being under the hand of their oppressor. And during the time of our oppression, guess what? People were going to change times and laws. And there was going to be nothing you can do about it. Go ahead. You ready to unleash that precept yet?
Hey, that's that power that they've been given, though.
Right.
By the Most High.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, give me Micah 2.
Bring it out.
Give me Micah 2. You can't do these things unless power were given unto you to do these things.
There you go.
Okay,
There
you
you
got
go.
that? Micah 2?
Verse 1.
Yeah, 2 and 2. You start 1.
The book of Micah, chapter 2 and verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds.
That devise iniquity. Because, like you brought out, the moon is what determines the seasons, right? And so you look at a period of time now where we don't even know the holy days that we're supposed to be keeping.
Right.
Read that again.
Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand.
Because they've been given that power for a period of time.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Why you on that point? Go to Psalm 17 and 13 real quick, just to show you, because that's a real big problem in a lot of our people that we try to teach. They have a problem with, well, if God is for us, why does he let us go into this captivity? Why? I'm going to show you why. Go ahead, read that.
The book of Psalm, chapter 17 and verse 13. Arise, O Lord.
What?
Arise, O Lord.
Read.
Disappoint him. Cast him down.
Cast him down. Read.
Deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword.
Which is thy sword. The Edomites is the Most High's favorite weapon. Because he keep using them to punish us over and over and over again. But we got to understand, like you just said, they were given that power from God. But guess what? In these last days, the Most High is going to give us the understanding to be able to come back and worship our God in spirit and truth. That's what you're seeing right now. It's not by chance that you brothers and sisters are listening and watching. All over the world, people are coming to see the true understanding of what the Bible is really saying. But this is also showing you that, guess what? Everything you learned about the Bible, everything you learned about the world was taught to you by your oppressor, and it is wrong. It's that simple. So when we show you these scriptures, don't go back and ask the white pastor to validate it. He ain't going to do it.
He can't do
it. He ain't going to validate it. He's going to give you theology. Go to Isaiah 29 and 13. Because guess what? All those videos we just watched, it says they changed it from this. They changed it back to that. Did you hear scripture being quoted on what they based it upon? I didn't hear one scripture quoted for what they based upon changing the dates from this to this at all.
And you know our people roll in that same spirit because when you ask them for a scripture, they can't provide one either.
There you go. They envy their oppressor. They're like, hey, well, he did it. Why can't I? That ain't the way you're supposed to roll. Read that.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 29 and verse 13. Wherefore the Lord said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me.
We have removed our minds far from God. Read.
And their fear toward me.
And what?
And their fear toward me.
Now, the way we fear God, praise, worship, Bible study, days, all these different things, was what?
Is taught by the precept of men.
Is what?
Is taught by the precept of men.
Now, you just read a scripture, a wonderful scripture that correlates beautifully. If we were taught by the precept of men, and the power was given unto our oppressor, everything we learned about our God was given to us by the white man. And guess what? It was for our ruin. It was for our ruin. Give me that in Zechariah 1 and 15. I'm going to prove it to you. Because guess what? They were supposed to oppress us for a time period. But this is what they did. This is what Esau has done unto us.
The book of Zechariah, chapter 1 and verse 15. And I am very sore displeased with the heathen
What
that
did
are.
God say?
I am very sore displeased with the heathen.
I am sore displeased with the heathen. I'll give you an example. It's like I got assistants under me. Or if you got a job, you got management. You got people under you. You tell them, hey, handle this problem with this employee. They ain't do things right. They supposed to get a write-up. You go down there, you cuss them out, scream and yell at them, you dock their pay, you do all these other things. It's like, bro, I told you to just go down there and make sure they don't clock in late again. They go down, they got a write-up, took their check, took their bonus, everything. Took the keys, hey, you got to call me before you come into the building. Read, let me show you what I'm talking about. I am very sore displeased with the heathen. This is the Most High looking at the heathen. Read.
That are at ease. For I was but a little displeased.
Read.
And they helped forward the affliction.
They did what?
And they helped forward the affliction.
Esau has forwarded the affliction, meaning they took it further than what it needed to go. God didn't tell you to go set up and change the dates. He said to take us into captivity, slavery, oppressors. He didn't say change times, laws, paint yourself as God. He didn't say do all that. They took it way too far. Like, whoa. Now you building colonies in space. What's going on? Now you gonna fight me?
Right.
You gonna come against me now? You going too far, Mr. White Man. I didn't set you up for all that. That's what Esau has done. So from there, go to Proverbs 3 and 31. Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 31. Because our fear of God is taught by the precept of man. Considering that, and like you brought out was an excellent point, you got to understand you got an enemy. You got to understand we are all not the same. And once you can do that, then you can read the Bible the right way. Because the Bible speaks explicitly about oppressors, about saviors, about messiahs, about deceivers, which are devils. So you got to understand when you're reading the Bible, where am I at on the spectrum? Who is this speaking to? What do I need? Why do I not need to be deceived? Read that.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 3 and verse 31. Envy thou not the oppressor.
Do what?
Envy thou not the oppressor.
Envy thou not the oppressor. You know why they can't read this in the Christian church? Because there is no oppressor. What do they love to say? We all God's children. How can you read Proverbs 3 and 31 in a church with white man, Chinese man, Asian man, black man? Who's the oppressor? Hey, pastor, who's the oppressor?
Hey, if you do speak out, because there's brothers and sisters that sit back in the back.
Oh yeah.
They don't have those comfortable seats in the front.
Right.
But they damn sure pull out one of them brothers up there in the front.
Right.
To put you back in check.
So read that again.
Envy thou not the oppressor.
The Bible says, envy thou not the oppressor. Read.
And choose none of his ways.
And do what?
And choose none of his ways.
And choose none of his ways. So you got to realize, first you got to find out who's the oppressor. Then you got to see what did he teach us. We just showed you. The oppressor is your friendly neighborhood white man. He's number one on the list. What did he teach you? He taught you New Year's. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to just bring out one script in Deuteronomy 32, 26 and 27.
Bring
27 the point, because what you're lining up, it goes into that mindset of our oppressors.
There you go.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 26. I said, I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
So the Lord said, I'm going to do this.
Right.
You know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to humble you.
There you go.
Right? But go ahead.
Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy.
But now he's speaking to himself. He says, what?
Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely.
Why would they behave themselves strangely? Go ahead.
And lest they should say, our hand is high.
That's just like with Antiochus, right?
Right.
Because of his pride, he thought he did these things.
Right.
Not that the Lord was angry with us. Go ahead.
And the Lord hath not done all this.
Because they not giving the Lord no credit, understanding that because he's angry with his people, this is why we have our position right now.
Hey, that's a heavy precept, officer. That's a heavy precept. Because it's funny you say that. Read that one more time. I want verse 27.
Verse 27. Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely.
That's the part I want to touch real quick. Because, you know, the comedian, he said, oh, you acting strange. That's like God looking at the oppressor like, bro, what is y'all doing? I didn't set you up to do that. They behaving themselves strangely towards God. Because remember, these are the same people when we came out of Egypt. They say, oh, snap. Nah, we ain't fooling with them. Them the people that God delivered. So they know the power of God, but guess what happened? They don't fell asleep. Now they don't reign over us so long. Give me that Jeremiah 2. I want to see a homeboy and slave. They don't rule over us so long. Read that. You found it?
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 2 and verse 14. Is Israel a servant?
Is what?
Is Israel a servant?
Is Israel a servant? Read.
Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled?
Then why is he spoiled? That's what you got to ask yourself. Why are these people on top of us? And it's one word, sin. All right? From there, let's see. What did God give us? Because we showed you what the oppressor gave us. So what did God give us? Exodus 12 and verse 1. So we showed you clear as day, scriptures and historical fact that January 1st was not in the Bible. That ain't in the Bible, ladies and gentlemen. You can do further research. Hell, just watch the 4-hour class that Deacon did last week.
Right.
I'm giving you the brief example. You can go buy the $500 books. You can do all that. Whatever you need to do, but you won't find it in the Bible. You got that?
Yes, sir.
Read that.
The book of Exodus, chapter 12 and verse 2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months.
So, the Bible does have a first month. It does indeed have a new year in it. Read.
It shall be the first month of the year to you.
So that's all I wanted. So when is this month? When you were delivered out of Egypt, this is going to be the first month. And this is what you got to take into consideration. When we're in Egypt, we learned the ways of the Egyptians. So when you're reading Exodus, you're reading Leviticus, you're reading Deuteronomy, he's cleansing us up from all the ways that we learned of the oppressor. And guess what? He's doing the same thing today in these last days. This is nothing new, what's going on. We have been in 7 major captivities. We were in Egypt. We were in Assyria. We were in Babylon. We were under the Persian Medes. We were in Rome. We're in Greece. We're in Rome. And now we're in America. And each one of those, we had to relearn. We had to relearn because we were what? Waxing old in our oppressor's land. In a land that was not ours. Even when you read in the books that Paul wrote, he was teaching them, bringing them back into the commandments again at that time period. How much more do we have to do it now? Because guess what? Then some of them knew they were Israelites. Now nobody knows. They have no clue of what's going on. You have something?
No. Just
read that one more time in verse 2 before we go to Deuteronomy 16.
Exodus
12
chapter
and 2.
12 and verse 2.
Uh-huh.
This month shall be unto you the beginning of months.
Uh-huh.
It shall be the first month of the year
So-
unto you.
So what month is this? Go to Deuteronomy 16 and verse 1.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
Observe the month of Abib.
Do what?
Observe the month of Abib.
Observe the month of Abib. So now it gives us a word to this month. Let's see. Give me that definition of Abib. And whenever Abib is, that's when we're supposed to celebrate the new year. Read that for me, Malachi.
Definition of Abib. An ear of corn.
Uh-huh.
The month of newly ripened grain.
Read.
The first of the Jewish ecclesiastical year.
So this is the first year. This is the first month of the year. This is the first month of the year. Abib. Read.
And the seventh of the civil year.
Uh-huh.
It began about the time of the vernal equinox.
Just like everybody else kept it because everybody understood. They went off of our statutes. Remember, we set the precedent for a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Everybody looked to us for everything. Because go to Deuteronomy real quick in verse 4. Deuteronomy 4 and read verse 5 through 7.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 5.
Uh-huh.
Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments,
Uh-huh.
even as the Lord my God commanded me,
Uh-huh.
that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it.
He taught us things that we were supposed to do when we went to the land. Why?
Keep therefore and do them,
Uh-huh.
for this is your wisdom.
For what?
For this is your wisdom.
For this is your wisdom. So you know what happened when you do something that's wise? People emulate it and copy it. That's why they say what? Imitation is the biggest form of flattery. Other nations followed what we did. They tried to anyway. They put their own spin on it eventually. Well, not eventually. Today, why do you think they have holy days, holidays? They get that from us because we have what? Holy days. Why do they eat certain things on certain days? They get that from us because that's what we did. Why do they reverence? Why does everything shut down on Christmas? Because they understand how we celebrate the Sabbath. Mm-hmm. They understand how you reverence their gods through us. Before that, they didn't know nothing about that.
Hey, you know, it's funny. When I was driving down here this morning, I was like, this is what the Sabbath should be like.
There you go.
Because there may have been a handful of cars.
There
You know
you
how
go.
far I drive.
There you go.
A handful of
The whole
cars I
ride.
saw the whole ride this morning.
There you go. And the same thing last week. I know brother said that last week this is what the Sabbath is supposed to be like, but not exactly. There's a lot of people worshiping pagan gods.
Right.
So I wouldn't take that as a good example last week, but it was peaceful. People wasn't buying and selling all that. But they was breaking the first commandment on a very, very large level. So bring that definition back up one more time. So the month of Abib. Did I say in one definition or two? 'Cause I thought I had another one. Yeah, only one? Okay, good. So our new year is around the time of the vernal equinox, all right? Usually around March, April time. That is when our new year is. That is when our new year is. And guess what? The way we celebrate it, it ain't through a ball coming through the sky. It's through the new moon, just like we do every other first month of the year. Let's get that real quick. Go to Numbers 10 and 10. This is how you should celebrate the new year.
The book of Numbers, chapter 10 and verse 10.
Uh-huh.
Also in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days,
Uh-huh.
and in the beginnings of your months.
In the what?
In the beginnings of your months.
In the first of the month, read.
Ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings, and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God.
So you're supposed to have a feast to your God, to our God, the God of Israel, in the beginning of your months. But there was nothing, I ain't gonna say nothing special. It was just like every other new moon. Mm-hmm. They make it completely different today. They do stuff completely different today. Give me Exodus. We already read Exodus. Give me Exodus 20:2. Before you get that, give me that video of Janice. What are we worshiping today? What are we worshiping today? Because we gave Abib the month of Abib. We're supposed to keep it in March, April time, around the time of the equinox, the vernal equinox. So what are we doing today watching a ball drop?
But just think now, if in the Christian church we were keeping the Passover, we might want to go back and find out, well, what does that Passover represent?
Right.
And wait a minute, the destruction of our enemies. So in the Christian church, like you said before, because there are no enemies,
right,
you can't keep that.
There you go. Heavy point. Heavy point. Hey, hold on. IT, I'm sending y'all something. Try to download it. While you downloading that, give me Psalms 106 and verse 35, I think it is. I want what we learned from our oppressors.
Yep, that's it.
Because that's the problem with Israel. I ain't gonna say, well, it is a problem, but we don't realize we doing our oppressors. A lot of us don't anyway. Until you on Clubhouse for 8 hours and you realize even if you do tell them exactly what they're doing is wrong, they still gonna do what the hell they want to do, and that's why we in captivity.
It's the way you're saying it,
man. Read that.
The book of Psalms, chapter 106 and verse 35.
Start at 34. Is that or is it started at 34? Go ahead.
Verse 34. They did not destroy the nations concerning whom the Lord commanded them.
You see that? This is why we're in this situation in the first place. We did not destroy the nations concerning whom the Lord commanded them. So God gave us a commandment to kill all the other nations. All of them. If we had did that from the jump, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Right.
That simple. Read.
But were mingled among the heathen.
But what?
But were mingled among the heathen.
But we were mingled among the heathen. Read.
And learned their works.
And what?
And learned their works.
And learned their works. Y'all got the video? So instead of blowing up the trumpets at the beginning of the months, we're going to show you what we do today as a people. Go ahead, play that video. The sound going to come on. This is what black people are doing to celebrate the new moons. Their new moon. Now, how many people going to die from the bullets that's going up? Because I didn't know that. I had just learned this. Yeah, I just learned that like 3 weeks ago. When you shoot them guns up, them bullets got to come down. They're coming down at the same speed. Look at this. Wow. That wasting bullets.
That looked like a housing project.
Yeah, you in the project. They shooting at somebody. Wow. Ain't nobody got no license, no certificate. Wow. And he's stepping forward right into a line of fire. Ain't no way. That was it. Wow. All right, turn that off. So that's how low we have become as a people. That's how low we have become as a people. Now play that video about Janice. Wow.
Unbelievable. That's what it sounded like outside my house.
Yeah. Hey, go back. Hold on. I want to go back 1 second. What to what was on the screen before? Go ahead, just leave it on. All right, so pause it. Read that, Malachi.
He introduced the Julian calendar, which closely resembles the more modern Gregorian calendar that most countries around the world use today.
All right, press play. January 1.
As part of his reform, Caesar instituted January as the first day of the year, partially to honor the month's namesake.
So they moved it to January 1st to honor the namesake of who? There you go. Read that.
Janus.
What?
Janus.
Janus turned into what? January. The bishops and deacons did a wonderful class on all the months. They all go back to pagan gods. Every last one of them. Read.
The Roman god of beginnings, whose two faces allowed him to look back into the past and forward into the future.
Because what do you do before the new year? You always say, I'm gonna examine what I did the past year, and I'm gonna make a resolution for the year going forward. You following the pathway of this God, because guess what? Janet's gonna hear your resolution, and they're gonna make it come to pass. Go ahead.
Romans celebrated the offering by offering sacrifices to Janus, exchanging gifts with one another.
That's the same thing we do today. That's the same thing we do today. What happens on New Year's? It says they damn, the
With
screen.
the
I can't see what
butt-naked
they
white angels up
Yep.
there. Right?
Go ahead. So they offering sacrifices.
Decorating their homes with laurel branches
Uh-huh.
and attending raucous parties.
So the parties, that's what I wanted to get at.
Yep.
What do you have on New Year's? You have a New Year's party.
That's right.
Where we going for New Year's? Where we going for New Year's to have a party? And what happened at 12 o'clock? You getting sloppy with somebody. Don't matter who.
Don't matter who.
Man, woman, child, anybody. You got to get your New Year's kiss. I know that's how y'all get it up in New York, right, Mikey? Y'all be in the streets. Everybody. See, down here in the South, we don't get down like that. So y'all got to understand the things that we learn these things from our oppressors. You don't read about that in the scriptures. We just read Exodus 12, what we supposed to do on the feast days. Press play.
In medieval Europe, Christian leaders temporarily replaced January 1st as the first of the year with days carrying more religious significance.
Uh-huh.
Pope Gregory the 13th, reestablished January 1st as New Year's Day in 1582.
Go ahead. That's what we just said. We showing you what he come from.
Common traditions include attending parties, eating special New Year's foods, making resolutions for the new year, and watching fireworks displays.
So, all right. Take the video off. So we're showing you that the traditions that we follow, they're not written in the Bible. And nowhere in the Bible do it say have a party, kiss somebody, offer sacrifices to the god Janus. You don't see that in there. But why are we doing it? Why are your Christian pastors pushing things that are not scripturally? It ain't Bible-based at all. A lot of churches had watch-in services last night.
Right.
If they didn't, they probably told the congregation, "Hey, y'all go down to the local park. They're gonna be going down and having something, or we're gonna meet up with all the churches and we're gonna watch the ball drop on the big screen. We rented out the park. What is this? They are not. These are not the men of God. Now,
Hey, Cap,
Yeah,
did
go
you finish that in Psalms?
no, go ahead, read that. Go back to Psalms 106. What you wanted to touch?
35 and 36.
Go ahead.
The book of Psalms, chapter 106 and verse 35. But were mingled among the heathen and learned their works.
That's what you're doing over today.
Absolutely.
We are learning the works of the enemies. Go ahead.
And they served their idols.
That's it right
There
there.
you go.
We are serving their idols. Now, what you bringing out about as far as Janus, and our people behind that are also superstitious. You know, like we'll bake.
Oh, we finna touch that.
Oh,
We
you get
finna
all
touch
right.
that.
I ain't gonna get it.
So we going into the traditions. Now we got to touch the traditions that come with it, because instead of doing the traditions of our forefathers,
right.
blowing up the trumpets, Negro don't even know what a shofar was. I didn't know what a shofar. Like shofar, what is that?
Right.
What? I didn't know what the new moon was. I definitely didn't know what a shofar was. But that's what we supposed to do. Because guess what? You don't know what a Santa Claus is. You don't know what a Christmas tree is. You don't understand none of that, but you learn it. You learn it. We were supposed to teach our children these commandments. That's what we're doing now. But what happened? We waxing old in a strange country.
Right.
Give me that video on the traditions of what we do. Come on, IT. Y'all been doing good. Y'all been doing good. Whatever it was the next video. No. Drop the ball, IT. God dog on it. Y'all was doing good. It should be the traditions, man. Come on, IT. Come through. Come through. All right. History new. Oh, I never sent it to you. That's on me. I take the blame for that one. I take the blame for that one. I'm sending it to you now. All praise. Y'all all right, IT. Y'all all right. Y'all all right. I take the blame for that one. All right, I just sent it to you. The origin of black-eyed peas and collard greens on New Year's Day.
Black-eyed peas.
Yes, sir.
As we start the
I know, yep. You didn't understand it. We're going to show it to you today.
I did it.
You're
I
going to
didn't
get that
understand it,
understanding today.
but did it.
Remember, your precepts, you are taught by what? The precept of men.
That's right.
The precept of men, not the Bible. You
Make
got
sure
it?
you had some money in your pocket on New Year's Day
There you go.
so you wouldn't be broke for the year. Damn. Yeah, all of that stuff. We was crazy, man.
Y'all got it? Go ahead.
As we start the new year, some folks across the South will be serving up a plate full of tradition. Through our partnership with Mercer University's Center for Collaborative Journalism, Amir Jacobson takes a closer look at a holiday meal that dates back over a century.
Pause. Pause. Is that a holiday tradition that dates back over a century? How long is a century? 100 years. 100 years. Guys, 100 years ain't going back to the Bible. That ain't Exodus. So you got to ask yourself, hold on. We doing traditions from 100 years ago?
Right.
And I'm a Christian and I'm a follower of Christ in the Bible? That ain't adding up. Go ahead, press play.
Damn.
Hey, that's a good point. You
Collard
just said.
greens
Hold
and
on.
black-eyed.
Some of the people that went through Black Wall Street are older than the tradition that we say is a Christian tradition. Wow. Go ahead.
Peas. Many of us grew up eating the combination on January 1st, hoping that it would bring us money and luck in the new year. But where does that food combination, even that notion, really come from? I spoke with a food historian, and the answer, deeply rooted in Southern history, just may surprise you.
This is for the peas, and these are for the collards. I already done prepared my spices and everything in there.
Richard Lockett has been cooking for a long time. As the head chef at Meemaw's in Macon, he knows a thing or two about soul food and Southern food traditions. Things like eating black-eyed peas and collard greens on January 1st.
Well, it's an old slave tradition.
Pause.
Really, that's what it is.
Pause. It's an old slave tradition. It's an old slave tradition. We tell y'all this all the time. The things that you do, you learned it from your oppressor. Or you learned it while you were in an oppressed state. And now you try to bring that into the Bible. No, you can't do that. Go ahead. Go back. Press play.
Dr. David Davis is a Mercer University English professor and food historian.
I think when we're eating peas and greens on New Year's Day, we're actually doing something that is fundamentally Southern. But we're perpetuating a practice that is ultimately embedded in the culture of slavery.
Pause.
The food
Hold
ties
on.
to the...
We ain't gonna just act like he's just gonna go past that. So he said we're doing something that's fundamentally Southern, and it goes back to slavery. So he's saying the South is slavery. That's what he's letting you know. But really, America is the South, whether they believe it or not. America is slavery. That's why we started at Baruch 3 and 10. We are in our enemy's land. The things that you do here in America, you learned it from slavery. You learned it from your oppressor. Go back to the video.
The time period are well documented.
Collard greens are a food that is persistent through the winter months. So it's very common to have collards still going fresh as late as December to January. And cowpeas are available because they can be dried and preserved in the course of the year.
So why January 1st? Davis says that history shows that slaves were given less responsibility between Christmas and the New Year, giving them reason to conclude.
So, do that sound like today?
Oh my
Do that
goodness.
sound like today? How many people
Absolutely.
on Clubhouse said, well, I don't celebrate this or celebrate that, but they give me the time off.
Right. Right.
I got the days off. Go back a few seconds. I want to hear the white woman say it again so they know that, guess what? You still a slave today.
Mm-hmm.
You following the same traditions, and you still get the same days off today. Go ahead, press play.
As late as December to January. And cowpeas are available because they can be dried and preserved in the course of the year.
So why January 1st? Davis says that history shows that slaves were given less responsibility between Christmas and the New Year, giving them reason to conclude this time period with a large meal. But there's also another theory.
January 1st, for many families existing under slavery, will be the last time they will be together as a family for months.
Balls.
That's because
Balls. Do that sound familiar? Do that sound familiar? Give me Baruch 3 and 8 real quick. Because apparently, what the white man is saying is that white people get together all the time.
Right.
Because they ain't in a position of servitude.
That's right.
They ain't working a 9 to 5, clocking in on the plantation that they can't get off to celebrate with their families.
They not essential workers, huh?
Right. Go ahead, read that.
The book of Baruch, chapter 3 and verse 8.
Uh-huh.
Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity.
We are what?
We are yet this day in our captivity.
Guess what? You are yet this day in your captivity. If you laying claim that the only reason why I get together on Christmas is because that's the days I got off.
Right.
Well, guess what? You still a slave.
And the sister said that yesterday. That's the only time her mother has off, right?
There you
but
go.
still wanted to put the spin on it for why she did it.
There you go. No. You doing it because you want to worship another God, and we get it. You are in captivity. But y'all don't want that. You can't have the what they say. You can't have the milk and the whatever.
Cake and eat it.
Yeah, you can't have the
Yeah,
cake
yeah.
and eat it too.
Yeah.
You just got to admit you in the midst of sin.
Right.
But they don't want to admit they're in captivity, though. They don't want to admit they're in captivity. But guess what? Somebody else is predicating when you can worship with your family. That sounds like a slave to me, because that's what happened during this time period. Read it again, Baruch 3 and 8.
Baruch chapter 3 and verse 8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse.
Read.
And to be subject to payments.
And what?
And to be subject to payments.
And if you wasn't subject to payments, you wouldn't be so scared to take them days off. Because that ain't the only time you can get off in the whole year.
Right.
Esau take off all the time. All the time. You know what's funny? I took off. They docked my pay. I said, God doggone it. Everybody else in the world take off. Nothing happened. Esau came to me and said, hey, why was you out last week? I said, I filled out my paperwork. He said, yeah, but teachers don't have vacation. I said, I'd be damned. Everybody else in the world take vacation. Somehow when I do it, the paperwork don't come out right, and I'm jacked up. I said, damn. We subject to payments.
Subject to payments.
Read it all the way through again.
Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse.
Read.
To be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our fathers.
And we're subject to these payments because of our sins. Because of our sins. Read.
Which departed from the Lord our God.
You see that? That's what happened. We departed from the Lord our God. Now you only can take off when the white man tell you to take off. Now you can only take off when the Moab man lets you take off. That's what's happened to us in America.
Hey, Cap, and we've caught up into this, too. If you get Wisdom of Solomon right quick, were you done with that? Wisdom of Solomon 14, read 12 and 13, and then jump down to 16.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 12. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication.
That's what's going on when we celebrating Janus. All right, spiritual fornication. Go ahead.
And the invention of them, the corruption of life. For neither were they from the beginning, neither shall they be forever.
Go ahead. Jump down to verse 16.
Verse 16. Thus in process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong.
So this ungodly custom has grown strong that we see now. We still have the same time period off that we had in slavery.
Wow, that's a heavy point. That's a heavy point. We still slaves.
We still slaves.
What Kanye West, what's the name of his song, New Slaves, a few years back? I forgot the name.
Yeah,
of
New
it.
Slaves.
New Slaves. We still slaves today. So go back, finish that video. From where it
As
was
Davis says, many slaves were rented out to work at other plantations for a year, starting on January 1st. So how do these notions then evolve into superstitions?
The grain was for money. You cook the grains for money. For the peas are for pennies. Yeah, so it takes pennies to make dollars. So this is all I heard coming up.
passed in oral tradition from family to family, and it gets detached from the culture of slavery.
The tradition spreads across cultures from past centuries to today.
And it makes even more sense as it transmits from African Americans to white families that the connection to slavery becomes downplayed and eventually lost.
Again, Dr. Davis does emphasize that a lot of this is just...
All right, you can take that video off. So it says eventually gets downplayed and what? Lost. Now everybody eats it. Nobody even know why. You don't forgot you was now everybody loves everybody, and you forgetting the things that you got on your plate originated when this man that's beside you was your slave master.
Right, right.
That's what's happened to us in this land of America. Wow, unbelievable. Give me Exodus 20 and 2. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2. So while we're in captivity, we doing our own thing, but we worshiping other gods. Let's see what God says about that.
The book
20 and 3, that's what I want.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 3.
Uh-huh.
Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
Thou shalt what?
Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
You see that? That's very simple. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. How do you not have other gods? You do exactly what the Bible says. That's the only way you're going to know you worshiping and following the God of the Bible. Keep the commandments. If you're doing anything outside of that, you're worshiping other gods. There's not like some middle section where you're doing what you want to do. You can worship God, worship the devil, or you can do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of people think it is. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, that's not the way it works. And you know how we know that's the way they think? It's because they say it over and over and over again. Well, we do this because no. Give me that where it says, what does it say? It says, if you're not with me, you're against me. That's what I want. If you're not with me, you're against me in Matthew. Let's find that real quick because we got to make it very simple for these holidays. If you're not doing what God tells you to do, you're going against him. That's what it is. You found it? Read that.
The book of Matthew, chapter 12 and verse 30.
Uh-huh.
He that is not with me.
He what?
He that is not with me.
If you're not celebrating the Sabbath, Pentecost, New Moons, Passover. If you're not with me, read.
Is against me.
Is what?
Is against me.
You against him if you're celebrating Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, New Year's, Memorial Day, Labor Day, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Groundhog Day, President's Day. You against God doing those things. That's what you got to understand. It's that simple, cut and dry. There's no middle leeway for you to do what you want to do. Give me that Revelations 3 real quick. 3 and 15, I think it is.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
The book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot.
Right. I don't celebrate Christmas for the origin. I just do it to get with family. Well, guess what? You ain't either hot or cold. Read.
I would that thou wert cold or hot.
He said, hey, either put up the Christmas tree, bring the gifts, put the milk and the cookies out, and get it in. Read.
So then, because thou art lukewarm.
You lukewarm. You lukewarm. Read.
And neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth.
I will what?
I will spew thee out of my mouth.
You see that? It's that simple. God ain't dealing with you. God is not dealing with you rolling in that spirit. You got to worship him in spirit and truth. Remember we read earlier, what truth can come from a lie? All of these things are lies. All of these customs, traditions, they are lies. They are not biblical truths. Go back to, so we talking about the traditions. So with other gods come other traditions. Mm-hmm. Comes peas, collard greens, kissing, parties, fornication, sacrifices. Go to Matthew 15. We're going to read 3, and then we're going to jump down to 8 and 9. Matthew chapter 15, verse 3, and then we're going to jump to 8 in verse 9.
The book of Matthew, chapter 15 and verse 3.
Uh-huh.
But he answered and said unto them, why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition?
You see that? Now, he was talking to the Pharisees and the scribes. They were doing a lot of things that were their traditions, but they were not keeping the commandments. We do the same thing today. We transgress against God by keeping what? Traditions and cultures that were given to us when? During slavery. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't during this slavery, it was during the last slavery. Because the New Year's, it didn't start during this slavery. That started back in 46 BC. And it goes even further back to the Babylonians. They really started the New Year's resolutions. We learn these things from our oppressors. Go ahead.
And what's crazy is that we'll do these traditions, never giving thought to it, right? Like it says in Isaiah 1 and 3. But then when we teach our people that we the Israelites, we got to keep the commandments, well, I'm going to have to do my research on that.
Damn. You know why? Because it came from you. You ain't the white man. You ain't got the white stamp of approval, brother. They want to do research then, right? But you ain't want to research Santa Claus coming down. You ain't want to research the Easter egg bunnies. You ain't want to research the pale-faced, blue-eyed Jesus Christ that's on you. But now when you come with facts, they want to research.
But you got to consider, too, just like what you've been bringing out, you got food and orgies attached to these things.
There you go. It's good.
Yeah.
Hey, give me that in Hebrews where it says sin is good. Sin is good. Feels good to you. What is it?
Eddie Murphy did that.
What is it?
I think it's 11.
All right. Yep. Hebrews 11 and verse 25. Read that.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 11 and verse 25.
And if you're listening, you're not an Israelite, we get it. We all been there before. We ain't trying to say we a million times better than you. We are better than you because it says the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor. But we want to bring you on this side. We going to meet you where you're at. Come out of that. We've been there before. I remember when I was in college, the highest level of honor for an athlete, a college football player, is to play on a New Year's Day game, bowl game. You don't get no bigger than that. And I remember you get all the praise, the glory, your family come watch you play. I get it. But you got to turn away from all that. Read that. That's what Moses did.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 11 and verse 25.
Uh-huh.
Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God.
Right, because guess what? Everybody else getting it in on Christmas, Thanksgiving. They eating food. They chilling with the family. They getting presents. Who don't want a free iPod or a free Apple Watch? Or all these different things they getting, whatever it is. Who don't want it? Okay, we get that. Read.
Than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season.
You see that? The pleasures of sin for a season. But guess what? All of this stuff, it ain't going to be here forever. It shall come to pass. It's going to pass away. Go ahead, Michael.
Let me get my one scripture. I'll be the off camera, but it's going into what you're saying, Luke 17:32. Mm-hmm. People got everything, because everything y'all bringing out is talking about coming out of this land, coming out of these ways. And one of the shortest verses in the Bible, this is the reason why Christ said this.
Right.
The book of Luke, chapter 17 and verse 32.
You got to read it slow for him. He pulled a Jesus wept on us.
It's a heavy precept. What you bringing out right now?
Remember Lot's wife.
So why did he say that?
Right.
Because she did not want to let go of the things of this world.
Right.
And when you look at what happened, because she didn't want to because y'all don't want to let go of Christmas and all those traditions, you're going to be destroyed. She got killed for that.
There you go.
So he said that just... Got to remember her, because she didn't want to let these things go. And she, like everything y'all saying, I celebrate Christmas just because my family do it, this and that, is going to lead to your death. It's going to lead to your death if you will never let it go.
There you go. It's that simple. It's that simple. Go to 1 Peter real quick. 1 Peter 4. Because it says, well, no, finish that in Hebrews real quick, because we got to let the people get the full effect of that scripture. 25 through 27.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 11 and verse 25. Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season.
For a season, read.
Esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt.
You see that? what we're going to get is greater than what America can give you. A lot of brothers and sisters don't go into certain occupations. They don't take certain jobs because they can't keep the commandments the way they need to. But they understand that, guess what? That $100,000, that new car, the company car, the vacation time, all of that, they understand that the riches of Christ is going to exceed that. Read.
For he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. By faith he forsook
Hold on,
Egypt.
pause. Read that part again. For he had respect.
For he had respect unto the recompense of the reward.
Meaning, Moses had respect for what was waiting for him. And his respect was backed by his actions. He was willing to turn away all the riches that he had in Egypt because he understood what was waiting for him.
So he showed a level of faith.
There you go. Meanwhile, our people say they love God and love Christ, but they don't respect the reward. Because if they did, they would understand it comes with something. You got to pay a price.
You can't even get these sisters to acknowledge that they got to wear dresses. Just stop wearing pants and wear dresses.
Right.
But they're a child of God.
They're a child of God. What's going to happen when the real persecution happens? When people being put to death for the love of Christ. Hey, you follow Jesus? You keep the commandments? Okay. If you can't turn away Christmas, that's going to be a hard day for you to stand up for Christ and your life is on the line. If you can't stand up for Christ on a holiday, you can't resist going down the chimney and watching the ball drop. It's going to be a hard day for you to stand stiffly for the name of the Lord in that day and be counted with the saints of the Most High. That's why all of this is preparation time. Read verse 27.
Verse 27. By faith he forsook Egypt.
You see that? By faith. A lot of y'all scared to stop celebrating Christmas and Thanksgiving because you worried about what your family gonna think.
Yeah.
You worried about what your wife gonna think. I took my kids the other day. They was at their grandma's house and she hadn't decorated the house. I went over there to the house decorator. I said, "Hey, let's go." No. She's like, "Why are you so short? You know exactly why I'm so. You got all these damn idols all over the place." Hell no. We getting the hell up out of here. But a lot of people scared. They scared to do that. You can't be scared. Read it again.
By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king.
Read.
For he endured as seeing him who is invisible.
Right, because he saw who was behind the whole bigger picture. That's how we got to be. We got to see the bigger picture of what's going on. Because remember, give me Matthew 19 real quick. Matthew 19, and I think it's 29. When you forsake your family, like what's today? Today is New Year's, right? All of us, we ain't around our worldly families. But guess what? We got 200 people watching, however many people watching on YouTube, Facebook. We got family all over the world.
That's right.
That is in the same mind and same spirit as we are. Read verse 28 and read down.
The book of Matthew, chapter 19 and verse 28. And Jesus said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel.
There's going to be a reward. Read.
Every one that hath forsaken houses,
and every single individual that has forsaken houses,
or brethren,
or
sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive an hundredfold, and shall inherit everlasting life.
You see that? We're going to inherit a lot greater things than we have right now. A lot greater things. You're going to have a new family. You're going to have new brothers, new sisters. I ain't know none of these brothers up here that's with me right now, but guess what? I trust in these brothers more than anybody in the world because I know they're going to keep the commandments of God. The only reason why I know all these brothers in purple and gold worldwide, there's literally not a place in the world I go right now and I can't call somebody that I can actually trust. Not a loose tie where you don't know what you're going to get. It's like, I know this brother. I know what he stands for before I meet him. You can't get that everywhere because you got that uncle that, you really don't trust him. You got that cousin that I don't really know.
Yeah.
No, you got solid family worldwide when you keeping the commandments. That, and a lot of y'all missing out on that. So you can keep that funky wife that hates you. Damn. That don't do nothing you say. You scared to lose her.
Scared to lose her.
Y'all crazy. Meanwhile, Moses left an example of being a prince in Egypt. Rulership. He left it. But you scared to leave the big mouth black woman. That's a 6. Damn. You scared to leave a 6. Wow. Unbelievable. So go back to that Matthew 15 and read verse 8.
The book of Matthew, chapter 15 and verse 8. This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.
Read.
But in vain they do worship me.
In what?
But in vain they do worship me.
In vain. Vain means of no value, of no profit. That is how our people worship God today. In vain they do worship me. Read.
Teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
You see that? They teach for doctrines the commandments of men. What man? Oh, I forgot the Pope name. But the Pope in 1582 said, hey, we're going to have January 1st be the new year. And this is how you're going to worship. Then we went into slavery. We said, hey, we're going to make peas and collard greens for wealth.
The sad thing is that the scriptures is warning. The scriptures is giving us warning. In vain do they worship me, but a lot of us are not going to realize it until it's too late.
There you go. There you go. From there, go to Colossians 2 and 8. Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. Like you say, that blows my mind. There's so many warnings throughout the Bible. Beware. Be warned. Don't let no man deceive you. So on and so forth. Meanwhile, you find yourself worshiping false gods over and over again. Read that.
The book of Colossians, chapter 2 and verse 8. Beware lest any man...
There you go again. There you go again. What did he say?
Beware.
Beware. Put your guard up. YouTube it. Wikipedia. Do something. Read.
Lest any man spoil you.
Lest any man spoil you. How would they spoil you? Read.
Through philosophy.
Through what?
Through philosophy.
Through philosophies, they're going to spoil you. Read.
And vain deceit.
In vain deceit, they're going to spoil you. Read.
After the tradition of men.
After what?
After the tradition of men.
Following traditions. That's how. Read.
After the rudiments of the world. And not after Christ.
And not after Christ. None of this has anything to do with Jesus Christ. None of it. Besides, it'll show you who he really is because you'll realize who he ain't. That simple. When you know Christ, then you know everything else is false. But it's those traditions. Our people love those traditions of men. We cannot get away from them.
Yeah, just get John 14:15. It's really this simple. Everything that you're going over, Cap, for our people. If we were supposed to be doing this, we should be able to read in the scriptures where Christ did it.
Right.
The book of John, chapter 14 and verse 15. If ye love me, keep my commandments.
It's really that simple. If you love me, keep my commandments. So you would go through the scriptures and you would see what commandments was Christ referring to. Right. What did Christ do? Like John 10:22, keeping the feast of dedication. Well, why ain't I doing that?
There you go. You in the spirit. You in the spirit. That's the whole next section of class. You in the spirit, my brother. All praises. That brother good. You was looking at my notes?
No.
Yeah, you in the spirit of the Lord. So, beware lest any man fool you. And the officer just hit it on the head. So, we got to understand, we showed you what you're not supposed to do. And that's what a lot of people do. Like children growing up, all you do is tell the children what not to do. Don't do this, don't do, but we don't give them something to do. Tell them don't run the streets. Well, what are you giving them in supplement? You tell them don't do drugs, don't do this, don't do that. You got to give them something to do. The problem with Christians a lot of times is everything that's written is there for you to do. You just won't do it. You just won't do it. You have so little faith that you won't apply the things that are written for you to do. So, God gave us days to keep. Like I said earlier, The origin of all their hell days started with our holy days. So we're going to go through and show you what days you ought to keep. Because you may be worried, like, I don't know what to do now. These are the only days that I celebrated with my family, so on and so forth. We get that. So now we're going to give you something you can do. We told you what not to do, so what can you do? Go to Sirach 33 and verse 7. Sirach chapter 33 and verse 7. This is what y'all got to understand. God didn't give the oppressor the power to make some days greater than others. Only he has that authority. Only he has that authority. Thus saith the Lord. Read that.
The book of Sirach, chapter 33 and verse 7. Why doth one day excel another?
Why do one day excel another? Read.
When as all the light of every day in the year is of the sun.
Right. Every day gets sunlight from the sun. Every day gets light from the sun. But why are some days greater than others? Read.
By the knowledge of the Lord.
Hold on, pause. That even cuts the doctrine of I worship my God every day.
Right, right.
That cuts it as well, because he's letting you know some days are more in higher veneration than others. Mm-hmm. So how do you worship your God every day? That's not scriptural. That some days are higher than other ones. And they just throw out the fact that in the Ten Commandments, he tell you to keep one day above all other days. Mm-hmm. They just throw that out. Mm-hmm. Read that again.
By the knowledge of the Lord.
No, read verse 7.
Verse 7. Why doth one day excel another?
Read.
When as all the light of every day in the year is of the sun.
Read.
By the knowledge of the Lord.
By the knowledge of the Lord, days are established. Mm-hmm. So when individuals are telling you to keep a day that is supposed to be associated with the Bible, where do you get the knowledge of the Lord? The scriptures. They have to go to the Bible to give you that understanding of why they are reverencing a day. If they can't do that, it ain't of God. It's that simple. Read that again.
By the knowledge of the Lord, they were distinguished.
By the knowledge of the Lord, they were distinguished. And what did he give us to see those days? The moon. Read.
And he altered seasons and feasts.
And what?
And he altered seasons and feasts.
And the Lord altered seasons and feasts. Read.
Some of them hath he made high days.
Some days he made high days. Read.
And hallowed them.
And he hallowed those days. Read.
And some of them he made ordinary days.
Some days are ordinary days. So, hey, you pull that for a Christian and tell them to explain that. Tell them to explain why some days are high and other ones are ordinary. It literally says ordinary day. It's just an ordinary ass Tuesday. Ain't nothing special about it. Thus saith the Lord. Go to John 19 and 31. I just want to give you an example that even when Christ was around, these days was still ordained by God. Some were greater than others. Mm-hmm. Read that.
The book of John, chapter 19 and verse 31. The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation.
Because it was what? The preparation for what? The Sabbath. Read.
That the body should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day. For that Sabbath day.
For that Sabbath day. Read.
Was an high day.
It was a what?
Was an high day.
That Sabbath day was a high day. The Passover. It was a high day. That means the next day was an ordinary day. Every day is not the same. These Christians don't have a clue of what Bible they're reading. They don't read it. Read.
Besought Pilate that their legs might be broken and that they might be taken away.
So go back to that Sirach 33 and 9. So that was when Christ was around. There were high days and low days and ordinary days. Mm-hmm. So why don't you know that? Why don't you have that understanding and knowledge?
And that shows us that the church doesn't distinguish these days either, because even when you were in Christianity and you thought you were keeping the right day,
right?
What did you do after church? You went to Ryan's or somewhere else and went to a smorgasbord to eat. You didn't even understand how to keep it holy.
Wow. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hey, give me that Ezekiel 22 real quick. Ezekiel 22. This is what your Christian church is doing today. This is what your Christian churches and your pastors are doing today. Ezekiel 22, start at 25.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 22 and verse 25. There is a conspiracy of our prophets.
There's a conspiracy of the prophets. Read.
In the midst thereof. Like a roaring lion, ravening the prey.
Uh-huh.
They have devoured souls.
Read.
They have taken the treasure and precious things.
Uh-huh.
They have made her many widows in the midst thereof.
Read.
Her priests have violated my law.
That's what's going on today.
Yep.
The priests are violating the laws of God. They ain't keeping nothing as they supposed to. Read.
And have profaned mine holy things.
They what?
And have profaned mine holy things.
Read.
They have put no difference between the holy and profane.
Uh-huh.
Neither have they showed difference between the unclean and the clean.
Uh-huh.
And have hid their eyes from my Sabbaths.
Uh-huh.
And I am profane among them.
You see that? That's how you know you following a false prophet. If they put no difference between holy and profane, if they hide their eyes from the Sabbath, meaning they say any day is the Sabbath. I remember I had a team chaplain once. He said, "Yeah, my Sabbath is on Tuesday, so I ain't gonna be able to make it."
His Sabbath. His Sabbath.
What? No. You don't choose when the Sabbath is. That's not. These people, they treat God as if he's what they call him, a genie. Is that what they call it, a genie, right? A magic genie? That's how they treat God. You rub him and he do whatever you want. They do not understand the scriptures. Now, what did I have you going before we went there? Back to Sirach 33, right? Mm-hmm. Read that. Sirach 33, that just came to me.
The book of Sirach, chapter 33 and verse 9. Mm-hmm. Some of them hath he made high days and hallowed them. And some of them hath he made ordinary days.
Some of them he have made ordinary days. So let's go. I told you we're going to tell you what you can do. So let's go to Exodus 20 in verse 8. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't have days to keep. That's why I keep it, because my family. Well, guess what? The Lord gave you 52 Sabbaths. 52 of them. You could get together every Friday night. You cook before the sun goes down. And everybody comes over and y'all have a family dinner. You can do that 52 times every week. Read that.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day.
Do what?
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
So, you were supposed to be remembering the Sabbath. Not when Christmas is. Not when Thanksgiving is. Not when Memorial Day is. Not when Easter is. Read.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
Read.
But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God.
The first day you can keep, which is in the Ten Commandments. Most people would at least keep the Ten Commandments, I would hope. That's the Sabbath day. Go ahead, you have something?
No, our people say they keep the Ten Commandments.
Right.
But as you ready to bring out, they don't even keep the Sabbath day.
They don't even keep the Sabbath. They can't even they can't read 3 lines into the Ten Commandments and be without sin. Can't even go 3 lines into them. That's our people, though. That's our people. From there, go to Exodus 12 and read verse 3. So I told y'all earlier, everything that an oppressor gets, they get it from us. The reason why they have feasts on these days is because we have feasts on our days. We have certain foods that we eat on these days. The difference is ours is ordained of God. They are just going off whatever comes to their mind. Turkey, stuffing, gravy. You won't read that in the Bible. But I'll show you what you will read as a dinner, that you're supposed to eat those things. Read that.
The book of Exodus, chapter 12 and verse 3. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house.
So, on the 10th day of the first month, this was a tradition. This is a godly tradition. You can keep it today if you can. If you can't, I'm going to show you what you can do. You're supposed to take a lamb. And then, when you read down, on the 14th day, go down to verse 6. I'm going to show you what to do with that lamb.
Verse 6. And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
So you get a lamb and you kill it. Read verse 8.
Verse 8. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread. And with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
So this is the the holy day, a holiday dinner that you're supposed to be having. This is a celebration that you're supposed to be keeping. And it's telling you exactly what to eat. You ain't got to do no thinking. You ain't got to look on TLC to get your Thanksgiving dinner and all that. No. It says lamb, unleavened bread, bitter herbs. That's your Passover dinner. And guess what? It tell you what day and when to eat it. Sound familiar?
Right.
Sounds real familiar, because guess what? Everybody knows on Thanksgiving, the fourth Thursday of November, you know to get turkey, ham, collard greens, hog maw, chitlins, all that nonsense. You keep it like it's written in the law.
Chitlins, Cap.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, inside the Bible that y'all pray over, it's telling you what to do. So this is another feast that you can keep. The Passover. From there, go to read verse 14.
Verse 14.
Uh-huh.
And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations.
Hold on. How long?
Throughout your generations.
So if you're a Christian, if you believe in the Bible, this is what you should be doing. This is what you should be passing on to your children. The Lord's Passover is what you should be keeping. Lamb, bitter herbs, unleavened bread. Didn't change. Read.
Ye shall keep it a feast.
Hey, what?
A feast.
Y'all want a feast? Everybody want to eat? The Lord got feast. Mm-hmm. But you don't want that. That ain't good. The white man ain't celebrating that one, so you don't want it. Read.
By an ordinance.
By what?
By an ordinance.
Read.
Forever.
Forever. These are the days that were given to you. But these ain't good enough. From there, go to Leviticus 23. Let's get another day we're supposed to keep. Leviticus 23 and verse 27.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 27. Also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement.
So, when was this?
Also on the 10th day.
On the 10th day.
Of this 7th month.
Of the 7th month. So, telling you when the next feast you should keep. On the 10th day of the 7th month, what you supposed to do?
There shall be a day of atonement.
You're supposed to have a day of atonement. Read.
It shall be an holy convocation unto you.
Read.
And ye shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
So, the Most High gave us a day of reflection. He got various types of feasts. All of them ain't the same thing like in the white man's holidays. White man holiday, you do the same thing every time. What you doing? Get drunk, go to the club, smash something, go home. It's a lifestyle of death. What'd you do for Christmas? Same thing I did for Thanksgiving. What'd you do for Thanksgiving? Same thing I did for Valentine's Day. What'd you do? Same thing. It's all the same thing. But God gave us high days that are set apart from everybody else. And you don't want to keep it. Jump down to 32.
Verse 32. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest.
A what?
A Sabbath of rest.
Read.
And ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even.
At what?
At even.
Yeah, I saw some nonsense in the comments. The Sabbath is from even unto even. Read it again.
At even.
Mm-hmm. Read the whole verse.
Verse 32. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest.
A Sabbath of rest when you're supposed to keep it. Read.
And ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even.
In the 9th day of the month at even. Because that's when the day starts. Until what?
From even unto even.
From evening unto evening. All right? Don't be putting no foolishness in the comments. From evening to evening is when you celebrate the Lord's days.
So it says that ye shall afflict your souls, right? Ye shall afflict your souls. So that's something that you're doing willingly, right?
There you go.
Can we get Romans 12 right quick?
Yes, sir.
12 and 1. Because this is one of the things that our brothers and sisters in Christianity have to learn too. And that goes back to what you were reading earlier about worshiping in vain, doing the things that we've been taught by our oppressors. Let's read that.
The book of Romans, chapter 12 and verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice.
That you present your bodies a living sacrifice. Go ahead.
Holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service.
So go back to Leviticus 23 and 32 and read about that one again.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 32. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even. From even unto even shall ye celebrate your Sabbath.
That's our reasonable service.
Absolutely.
To afflict our souls. Without atonement, I mean, where would we be if we didn't understand that we got atonement from the Lord?
There you go. There you go. That's letting you know they ain't worried about no atonement. They don't even think about these things.
No.
They don't think about it. Christ died on the cross. We covered in the blood.
Right.
Covered in the blood,
That's
brother.
it.
Once you covered in the blood, you good forever. Give me that Nehemiah real quick, 9. Deacon Malachi favorite scripture, because they still talking about the damn Sabbath. And make sure we got it right. Is it Nehemiah 9 or is it
Something at when the sun got
Ezra?
dark?
Yeah, when the sun was
13.
dark. Yep. Nehemiah 13. Read that.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 13 and verse 19.
Uh-huh.
And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark.
When it began to be dark. When it began to be dark. Read.
Before the Sabbath.
What?
Before the Sabbath.
So when it became fully dark, that is when the Sabbath started. Mm-hmm. That is when the Sabbath started. Read.
I commanded that the gates should be shut and charged that they should not be open till after the Sabbath.
Till after the Sabbath. So guess what? The sun went down again, then they opened it back up. That's letting you know a full day is from sundown to sundown. All right? Now, next example of feast we can keep. Now we're going to the New Testament. John chapter 10 and verse 22. Because we got to walk as Christ walked. We got to walk as Christ walked. What did Christ do? What did Christ do?
The book of John, chapter 10 and verse 22.
Uh-huh.
And it was at Jerusalem.
And it was what?
And it was at Jerusalem.
And it was at Jerusalem. Read.
The feast of dedication.
The what?
The feast of dedication.
Uh-huh.
And it was winter.
And it was winter. Now, I ain't never heard of no Christian church celebrating the feast of dedication. Never heard of it. Christ kept it. Why don't we? If it was extra biblical, Christ was celebrating extra biblical holidays. Was Christ a pagan?
And it's telling you it was in the winter months that he was doing
There
this.
you go. There you go. He wasn't getting
Where we
ready
get Christmas?
He wasn't getting ready for Christmas. He was getting ready for the Feast of Dedication. Go back a few books. Go to John chapter 7. Let's see what else Christ kept. John 7, verse 1 and 2.
The book of John, chapter 7 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
After these things, Jesus walked in Galilee, for he could not walk in Jewry, because the Jews sought to kill him.
Uh-huh.
Now the Jews' feast of tabernacles was at hand.
Now the Feast of Tabernacles. The Feast of Tabernacles was at hand. Let's see what happened. Jump down to verse 9.
Verse 10. But when his brethren were gone up, then went he also up unto the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret.
So, Christ kept the Feast of Tabernacles. I ain't never heard of no Christian church talking about tabernacles, dedication, Passover. I ain't never heard it. They definitely ain't preaching Day of Atonement.
No.
They ain't gonna
Not
never
at all.
preach that. Tell somebody not to eat. They got a hard chance of that. Hard chance of that. Go to Acts 2. Acts 2 and 1. This is Christians' favorite book to go to.
Right.
They love Acts 2. But by going there, they're acknowledging that you should be keeping something. Let's see what the people was keeping after Christ died.
The book of Acts, chapter 2 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
And when the day of Pentecost was fully come.
The what?
And when the day of Pentecost was fully come.
I think you're reading that wrong. I think that's the Church of Pentecost.
Right.
And when the day of Pentecost was fully come.
So Pentecost is a day? I thought that was a denomination. I thought that was a denomination, officer. Damn. When the day of Pentecost was fully come, read.
They were all with one accord in one place.
In one place. Read.
And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting.
Jump to verse 5.
Verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven.
Now notice, all of these scriptures we read, it says the Jews were celebrating dedication. The Jews were celebrating Pentecost. The Jews were celebrating Day of Atonement. Interesting. If you are truly an Israelite, you're going to keep the days of your forefathers. You can't relate with your forefathers if you're not keeping the days that they kept. You can't do it. You can't do it. Go to Acts 18 and verse 21. Let's see if Paul kept any feast days. Let's see if Paul kept the feast days.
The book of Acts, chapter 18 and verse 21. But bade them farewell, saying.
So Paul bade them farewell. What was he saying?
I must by all means keep this feast that cometh in Jerusalem.
Hold on, because Paul said we ain't under the law, but under grace. Paul said he nailed the ordinances on the cross. Paul said, you worship days and feasts and times and years. I'm afraid of you. That's what Paul said. Meanwhile, in the book of Acts, read that again.
But bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast that cometh in Jerusalem.
So hold on. Paul had to know about days, because he was like, hey, this feast coming up. I got to get back to Jerusalem, because according to Deuteronomy 16 and 16, 3 times a year we got to go up to Jerusalem. Somebody, Christian pastor, ain't reading the Bible. Read.
But I will return again unto you, if God will. And he sailed from Ephesus.
Let's see what feast he was keeping. Acts 20 and 16.
The book of Acts, chapter 20 and verse 16. For Paul had determined to sail by Ephesus, because he would not spend the time in Asia. For he hasted, if it were possible for him, to be at Jerusalem the day of Pentecost.
He wanted to be back in Jerusalem for the day of Pentecost. It wasn't about the Pentecostal church. It was about the day of Pentecost. So Paul understood days. He understood the feast days, and he kept them. So what is he talking about when he says, I'm afraid of you? You keep days and times. And he was talking about the law of sacrifice. That's what he was talking about. That's for another class. We ain't going into that today. So it made it to the end of the first class. How much time we got left? 16 minutes. All right, we want to do a quick recap of 2021. Let's play that first video, what went down this year. We're going to show a few videos.
America first! America first!
So this was January 6th.
Another thing I would say, Lester, is, as we try to figure out, well, it looks now like the Capitol, the police have been
Pete, let me break away from you a second, because things are happening very quickly.
The government did this to us. We were normal, good, law-abiding citizens.
They no longer have been able to keep them back.
Ain't never been no law-abiding citizens.
Right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Down the mall, President Trump airing his grievances in front of his supporters at a rally nearby, and he was warning vengeance for Republicans who did not take his side in objecting to these results. On Capitol Hill, a joint session of Congress has broken into House and Senate chambers as they debate objections that arose from GOP lawmakers over the electoral results from Arizona. There's some protests happening down outside the Capitol. They appear to be Trump supporters who are frustrated with the outcome and are trying to breach some of that those security perimeters around the Capitol.
USA! USA!
Take it off. So, y'all remember the January 6th Capitol protest? I think only a few people don't got arrested since then. But we want to show you that this was a small sign of what's to come in these last days. They rubbed over it like nothing happened. Mm-hmm. That was huge. That was huge. Now they acting like it didn't happen. It was small. No, that's just a small sign of what's coming in these last days. Give me that in 2 Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 15. We're going to show you, we're going to recap all of these events that happened throughout the year. Real quick, give you 1 or 2 scriptures just so we can look back on the year. Because remember, the scripture says watch and pray. So we got to see what's going on in the world and line it up with the scriptures. Read that.
The book of 2 Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 15. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh.
For the sword and destruction draweth nigh. When you see the American capital is getting ransacked, oh yeah, destruction is near. Because if anybody got top flight security of the world, it's America. Read.
And one people shall stand up to fight against another.
Right. Imagine when all those Edomites join together to fight against us. That's what's happening next. There's going to be an insurrection against the children of God next. Read.
And swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men.
Read that again.
For there shall be sedition among men.
That's an example. What we just watched was an example of the scriptures coming together. That was an act of sedition. Mm-hmm. When you're an American citizen and you going against your own capital, that is an act of sedition and treason. But guess what? That's how America was founded. We don't like to acknowledge it, but we broke away from Great Britain and did our own thing. So guess what? It's only right that we end the same way. Read. For there shall be sedition among men. Read.
And invading one of another.
And invading one another. Read.
They shall not regard their kings nor princes.
Read.
And the course of their actions shall stand in their power.
And they are not going to regard men. These figureheads, they ain't going to give a damn what they talking about. They're going to say, give me liberty or give me death. Ain't that your favorite? It's your favorite line, right, John Locke? Go to Matthew 12 in verse 25. It's a small signal of what's going on in America in these last days. Matthew 12 and 25.
The book of Matthew, chapter 12 and verse 25. And Jesus knew their thoughts.
And Jesus knew their thoughts. Read.
And said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation.
Hold on. What the Bible say?
Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation.
So it's only a matter of time before America is destroyed. Because we're seeing it is divided against itself in these last days. They tried to play the game of Democrat and Republican and liberal and conservative. They create all these things to divide us. But guess what? A house divided is brought to desolation. Those very things are going to be what destroys America in the last days. Read.
And every city or house divided against itself shall not stand.
You see that? This land cannot stand on those values. Now, give me the next video on the Confederates. It's another act that was going on in 2021.
This morning, this is a look at workers removing the Johnny Reb statue this morning that's set on top of an 80-foot Confederate monument in downtown Norfolk, Virginia. The mayor says the statue will be relocated out of concern for public safety. Protesters across America are tearing down and damaging memorials that they say honors racist figures from history. Chip Reed is in Richmond, another Virginia city where Confederate monuments are under attack. Chip, good morning to you. I know this has been an issue there for years.
Oh, for a very long time. Of course, Richmond was the capital of the Confederacy. So there are monuments like this one. This one is to Robert E. Lee all over this town. Politicians have spent years talking about doing something about it, maybe bringing them down, putting them in a museum, or maybe just adding some context. But this week, protesters said, we are tired of waiting.
Richmond residents celebrated Thursday at the graffiti-covered and long controversial statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee.
All that down below is hundreds of years in the making. And all the emotion and all the energy and all the passion that created that, it'd be a shame to wipe that away.
Very empowering, not just black people, for white people as well, who wants change. You know what I mean?
That call for change has hit the city's monuments hard, with protesters bringing down the statue of Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy, and landing Christopher Columbus in a local lake. Protesters took action across the country, tearing down memorials to the country's racist history, leading some officials to demand permanent removal.
The American people know these names have to go.
In Congress, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's call to do away with Confederate statues in the halls of the Capitol met Republican resistance. A bipartisan proposal advanced in the Senate would begin the process of renaming about 10 military bases that honor Confederate officers. President Trump and some Republican allies spoke out in opposition.
The purpose was to erase from history, erase every person and name and event not righteous enough, and to cast those who would object as defenders of the cause of slavery.
Why do we want to name or venerate people who fought to enslave other human beings? That's all we're saying.
Leisha Brooks at the Southern Poverty Law Center has helped identify more than 1,700 Confederate symbols still standing across the country, and argues their removal is a...
So, there was a movement throughout the earth, well, in America, to remove all the statutes of all the slave owners and Confederate generals and everything else. Let's see if the Bible spoke about that. Let's go to Habakkuk. Habakkuk chapter 1 and verse, let's start at 9. Because we don't went over this many a times. The reason why you got to leave that up is so our people remember. When you take away that history, they slowly gonna try to take away slavery. Nope, leave it up. Leave it up so you know exactly what happened to our people. Read that.
The book of Habakkuk, chapter 1 and verse 9. They shall come all for violence.
Right. They came for all the violence. They wanted all the smoke for all them years. They come for violence. Read.
Their faces shall sup up as the east wind. And they shall gather the captivity as the sand.
Read.
And they shall scoff at the kings, and the princes shall be a scorn unto them.
Read.
They shall deride every stronghold, for they shall heap dust and take it.
So the white man came, they took over. What they say, I came, I saw, I conquered.
Yep.
That's what they did. Yep. Then what happened?
Then shall his mind change.
Then what?
Then shall his mind change.
Then shall his mind change. In 2021, now it's like, hey, no. That's not us. Let's take this. We don't agree with their actions. Slavery was bad. Slavery was bad. We don't agree with our forefathers for what they did and how they treated y'all. Reparations? No.
Right.
No. Not so fast. Read. Then shall his mind change. Read.
And he shall pass over and offend, imputing this his power unto his God.
Right. Now he give all his power to the white man.
His God.
Right. We're not gonna take praise of this. We just, hey, Jesus is gonna stay white and God's gonna stay white. But slavery is bad. Nah. Go play the what's the next video we got? Let me see.
Hey, that's a heavy point. Jesus gonna stay white, because I was thinking, I ain't seen not one group tearing down the white Jesus out of the church.
Nope. There you go.
I ain't seen no white Jesus candles.
Yep.
In Dollar General. Being tossed out.
Hey, go to the Juneteenth. Go to the Juneteenth. We ain't gonna worry about R. Kelly today. Go to Juneteenth. It's another big thing that happened in 2021. Black people got another holiday to celebrate that ain't got nothing to do with God. They gave us another one.
Right.
Because things was getting hot and heavy. You had George Floyd. You had, what's the young man in Georgia? Ahmaud Arbery. What's the sister that got shot up?
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor. A lot of stuff happening. Play the video.
Tonight, and the landmark moment in American history today. President Biden making Juneteenth a new federal holiday, marking the day the last African-American slaves were freed in Texas following the Civil War. And there was a moment today, the president kneeling before 94-year-old Opal Lee from Texas, who worked so hard to see this day. Here's ABC senior national correspondent Steve Osunsami tonight.
With the stroke of his pen today, President Biden signed into law a federal holiday for an event that many Americans had never even heard of until a few years ago.
This is a day of profound, in my view, profound weight and profound power.
Freedom Day for American slaves, Juneteenth. And it was almost 156 years ago to the day when federal troops moved into Galveston, Texas, setting free the last remaining slaves in America who had no idea that they had been freed years before.
We are gathered here in a house built by enslaved people. We are footsteps away from where President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation.
Hey, the first black vice president was holding...
Can you go back a few seconds when she was speaking? Just something in her speech. Because, you know, this is the first black woman.
House built. We are gathered here in a house built by enslaved people.
Stop. Why not by my people? Why not by my people?
Heavy
See,
point.
we be deceived all the time. The Bible keeps telling us, don't be deceived.
She ain't gonna connect herself to that. She don't want none of that. Go ahead, press play.
We are footsteps away from where President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation.
The first black vice president was holding the hand of the 94-year-old black woman who helped make...
Got him. First black vice president. Go ahead.
This happened. Miss Opal Lee. President Biden thanked her today. She's marched for years trying to make Juneteenth a holiday.
I'm really a little old lady in tennis shoes getting in everybody else's business.
There are many who feel it's no accident that this is happening after the street protests following the murder of George Floyd and the growing conversations over race in this country. And the president today is saying there is still work to do.
You see this assault.
All right, you can take that off. No more videos. Y'all did an excellent job. So, notice that they tried to sneak that in. They gave that a 5-second portion. Allegations are this is because of Breonna Taylor. And so, yeah, it is. Because 1865 was a long time ago. But just now they decided to make it a national holiday. Unbelievable. Give me Ecclesiastes 7:7. Y'all got to understand. Y'all got to stop falling for the trick bag, Israel. You got to stop falling for the trick bag.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad.
Because guess what? If they just keep oppressing us and keep putting the spiritual knee on the neck of the black man and the physical knee, eventually black people going to say, hey, man, enough is enough. It's time to revolt. I'm finna go, Nat Turner. I'm finna go Denmark Vesey, Tom Brown. Read. Surely your prayers make a wise man mad. Read.
And a gift destroyeth the heart.
And a gift destroyeth the heart. So, Israel, we pray you enjoyed the class. You got something out of the class. Hopefully you took notes. Stay tuned. We got a heavy lineup today. So, with that, we say shalom and no Happy New Year's.